So, Freddie, wow, we're literally minutes from your presentation
Correct.
at my
Yeah.
Vistage group. We had in my group a combination of CEOs, senior executives, solopreneurs, small business owners, and man, that hit the mark. It was um, it was a lot to digest, but it feels to me like everybody needs a personal brand and they don't know where to start. So if somebody wants to create a personal brand, how do they get going?
Well, I appreciate that, Scott, and thank you so much for the opportunity too. I think that the best way to get going is kind of like what we talked about in there is creating that custom GPT, right? Because what happens in personal branding is a lot of people they get so overwhelmed, like you said, about like the content that they have to create or the ideas, and so what we try to do is when you create this custom GPT and Chat GPT is it will do the idea generation for you. It'll give you the types of content to shoot. All you have to do is use your expertise. I think that a lot of times the benefit of being a business owner or somebody who's been in business a long time is you have lots of ideas, right? Like you have lots of ideas, you have lots of stories, and you have lots of expertise. So by creating this GPT to get content ideas for you, it removes the ideation out. And then this allows you to just speak from the heart and from the mind versus a script where you have to memorize it.
Sure. I, I know that when I first started doing content, I spent endless time thinking about how do I, what topics to cover, how to create. Is it going to get engagement? Do I have the right equipment lined up? It so much it felt overwhelming. How do you break it down that makes it simpler for people to get going?
Yeah, so the easiest way I think that you can get going is by documenting what you're doing. So I think that your smartphone has a great camera. You can buy a mic just like the one we're wearing for relatively cheap on Amazon, and you can kind of just document what's going on in your business, what's going on in your organization, and start like that, right? Because I think, like you said, a lot of times people are so worried about if the content's going to get engagement. The great thing I think about social media now is that we are in the creative stage. I think before we were in the advertising stage where people would put money behind content. Now I don't think that matters as much. I think the market is telling people this is good content. So instead of trying to figure out if something's going to work or not going to work, just put it out and the market will tell you from the start.
I think that's a really important fact because I think there are a lot of people that want to create content think they have to throw a ton of money to get engagement. The concept is that the market is going to tell you if it's engaging or not is critical, and the fact that you can experiment to find out what's working without spending a lot of money is is one of the keys to success without breaking the bank.
Correct. Yeah, I think that right now is one of the coolest eras of marketing and business because going back what you said, you don't have to spend a lot of money, right? Like if you put out a good product and you know what you're doing, like people will naturally gravitate towards you. And also, my thought process is if you're not putting out content about the personal brand from an organic perspective, but you're spending a bunch of money in advertising, well, you're almost going to get looked at as a scam because you're going to have all this influx of views and engagement. But then people are going to go to your organic stuff and be like, wait, there's not the same effort's not there. So I 1,000% agree with you where I think that you can get started for relatively cheap, really, if you wanted to, for no money, but you can get your face and name in the market where your ideal audience is paying attention.
Right. You know, I think not everybody is as comfortable in front of the camera as you are. So, what do you say to somebody who's a little camera shy, would prefer to write an email as opposed to put their face on camera?
So I would tell them to figure out a way to get in front of camera that's not overwhelming. So like for me, and we've talked about this, I can look at a camera and I can speak to a camera and I've done it enough to where it doesn't overwhelm me. But if you're somebody who's like, man, this the camera is overwhelming, we'll start off with just having a conversation with somebody and have the camera roll. That way you can get used to a camera being in your vicinity. And then from there, it becomes a lot easier. And then if you're somebody who wants to look at the written side, I think that the written content aspect, like the emails that we've talked about, the articles that we've talked about, is great. But I think that that personal connection, when people see your face,
Mm.
they get to know about who you are. Like if you're somebody who's grown a beard in the last 2 weeks and you're meeting somebody for a business meeting, like they can tell that, right? If you're somebody who's lost a bunch of weight, like people can see the progression. That's another topic of conversation at the business meeting, right? If you're somebody who's had their hair running away from them and then shave your head, like they can see them in the content too. So it's like being on video is more than just like the benefit of like your content getting out there. It's the benefit like of people having that personal connection with you as well.
You know, when I connected with you on LinkedIn, immediately I hit subscribe because I wanted to know what we were going to get as a speaker here at a Vistage group. But I was kind of blown away. The different content, what felt like every couple of days on a regular basis, it felt so fresh, it felt so topical. For me, it was hard to wrap my brain around how you could do that much content and keep it fresh. I'm thinking in the back of my mind, before I saw your presentation today, he must spend 24/7 making video.
Yeah.
But what I learned today is you can do a little with GPT and create content that can be sliced and diced 100 different ways and give you so many options. But why don't you spend a second telling us about that?
Yeah. So what I learned early on, Scott, is that like the companies that I deal with, they have like real life CEOs and executives. So one of my friends, Ali Jamal, who's actually a Vistage member as well, I remember when I first started working with him, we would film like 3 videos and then I would post them Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And I'd say, hey, let's do another video shoot. But as a business owner, you're traveling, you have stuff going on. But as the service provider that I am, I don't want you to have just a dry spell of not being relevant on social media. So what I started to learn is that if you can batch create content, so for an hour, if in 1 hour you can shoot 15 videos, which is about a video every 4 minutes, and you post videos 3 times a week, you're now covered for the next 5 weeks.
Mm.
And then from there, what you can do is you can use your phone to record articles to then use the GPT. But it's like 15 videos, 1 hour, 3 videos a week for 5 weeks. Now, when you get to week 3, you can do the same process again. And that allows you to always have content. I think that as a business owner, efficiency and effectiveness is the name of the game. And so if you can be efficient in your content creation process and effective, you can look like you're spending 24/7 creating content.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So what haven't we covered here in this video that you would like to get across to, people that are watching and trying to discover how they set up personal branding?
So the one thing that I would tell anybody is like personal branding goes further than just awareness. I know that we talked about it a lot in there where it's good on social media for awareness, but like let's say you have a change of heart or you want to go in a different career path, your personal brand goes with you,
Mm.
right? If you switch industries, your personal brand goes with you, right? And so there's that benefit of building the personal brand, but then there's also the ability that when you learn to create content, you can do stuff that's more internal versus external. So if I learn how to write an article using a GPT, now I can learn how to write a SOP. I can learn how to write a job description. So being able to build a personal brand allows you to develop all these skills that will never go away from you and that you can take with you wherever you're going.
Yeah, those prompts are so critical to get right and
Yeah,
refine as time goes on.
correct. Yeah, but the good thing about them is once you get them right one time, you have them forever.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So, Freddie, if people want to get a hold of you, learn more how to do this, take advantage of your services, how do they do that?
So on social media, I'm FRHART and the number 2. So I'm Frederick Ronald Hart II. And then they can go to frhart2.com to connect with me there. But I'm frhart2 on all social medias. And then LinkedIn is just Freddie Hart.
I love it. Thank you again for speaking to the group today and for spending some time with me after the group.
Yeah, no problem, brother. It was awesome.
All right, all the best.
Thank you.